The following Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast is a Pay-Per-Viewpoint episode scheduled for the WWE Stomping Grounds 2019 event. We just watched that, and we were going to break down what happened, what our thoughts are of it, recapping and reviewing everything that went down. Who is we? Well, introducing first, I am your host as always, Tony Mango, and joining me as always is Robert DeFelice. From
That's
Hearts
the
on
crowd cheering me on.
So, speaking of cheering, we both are in agreement about this. We went into this thinking this was going to be potentially one of the worst events of the year, having very little momentum behind it, very little hype, and we're oddly very positive about it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here last week. I got to listen to you and Callum break down the card, and to say that the excitement was tepid at best is probably being generous, but I really enjoyed this show.
It was oddly well written and executed very well, and the worst part of this night, I still felt like if that was what everything was, it would be better than what some shows that we get. Like, there are a couple elements to this that I'm going to nitpick, and there's some things that fell short of expectations, and some stuff that was good instead of great, and different things like that. But I thought that I would potentially hate pretty much everything that was on this card, and I didn't. Like, this worked out a lot better than it should have.
It seemed like people were doing their jobs tonight, which is always exciting.
Always exciting, very strange, very contradictory to what we've been seeing quite a bit of, and I'm not going to complain about that. But speaking of people doing their jobs, you all listening, your job is to leave a comment below. And if you're doing that on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell for the notifications. Tell us what you're thinking while we're going along here and going by match. You don't have to leave a comment match by match, but you know what I mean. And,
yeah, do your job, guys.
Yeah, that's what you get paid for.
Damn right.
So let's start things off with the pre-show. We were about halfway into this, and I was thinking to myself, they still haven't announced anything for sure about being on the pre-show that I'm aware of, and we're getting a little worried that they weren't going to have an actual match. But, about 35 minutes or whatever into it, we get into the Cruiserweight Championship match. It's a triple threat, where Tony Nese is defending the title against Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. And I thought that this was one of the best matches of the night, and I'm very, very happy that Drew Gulak won that title. As I've been saying for a while, I think that Gulak was like a very weak entry into the Cruiserweight Classic who took a while to get the ball rolling, but once he did, he very easily became one of my most entertaining people on the roster. And ever since then, I've wanted him to win this title, so now he finally was crowned the champion, and I really like that. I'm really glad that he won that. I've been crapping on Nese quite a bit. Yeah, he's kind of a lackluster champion, lackluster babyface, and this was actually the best match that I think that he's had too.
So, this was a great championship match with great near falls and crowd excitement, and a lot of things clicked the way that Cruiserweight Championship matches and pre-show matches don't always click. And there was a spot, though, the one-arm buckle bomb on Tozawa from Nese, where I audibly said, oh my god, like this might be it. They did fantastic near falls, and is there any better cruiserweight than Drew Gulak in the company?
There was another spot you mentioned where they did that double pin, and it was like maybe the third pinfall of the match or so, and I had actually said to Caroline, I was like, wow, I thought that could have been a good finish. Like, I mean, they're already like throwing that away,
There were several good moments like that. I thought definitely one of the better matches.
Yeah, I like this quite a bit, and I think that it's the type of match that if you did not watch it, whether because it's the pre-show or because it's 205 Live or a combination of the two or whatever, I think you should go back and check it out, because the crowd, which normally doesn't really give a shit all that much, they were chanting 205, 205, and it was like, good. Like, that's good, like, pat on the back. They deserve that. This was a good match, and I think that it's very logical booking, too, because we had talked about this on the predictions. But if Tozawa takes the pinfall, then Tony Nese can be like, well, you didn't really beat me, and he's justified in getting another shot at the title. And that takes us into Extreme Rules, or maybe even to SummerSlam. I would rather it take us into Extreme Rules and Gulak fight somebody else at SummerSlam, but I think that that's really smart. And I'm also glad, too, that it doesn't paint the picture that Mike Kanellis is going to win the title, too, because I don't think that Kanellis would be as good of a champion as Gulak. So this is like everybody wins, I think. Well, except for Kanellis.
Yeah, Leo Rush, I think a great 205 babyface. I think the crowd will be behind him very much so.
That'd be interesting.
Now that he's, he's got that, the company's against me kind of thing. Go be a top guy on 205 Live. Can we please, WWE, I'm putting this into existence, 2 out of 3 falls on any show, Chad Gable and Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight title, and I'll watch it.
That's what I'm kind of hoping that we build to. I'd like to see Gulak hold this title until WrestleMania and have him lose it to Gable.
That would be pretty good.
Maybe put like Gulak versus Nese in some kind of Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules, and Gulak fights Gentleman Jack Gallagher at SummerSlam. Oney Lorcan at Survivor Series, maybe some Fatal 4-Way type thing with like those two and Humberto Carrillo at Royal Rumble, and then build up Chad Gable in the process. I think that'd be really cool.
Hey, I'm not being funny, but if I go on the website and go to the heel or face section, is it broken down by brand?
The heel or face?
Yeah.
The what section for that?
Or you know what I mean, the face and heel turns.
Oh no, it's just like the list in order.
Okay, because I was hoping to see a 205 Live breakdown of baby faces, because I don't know how many have, I don't know how many baby faces they have. I know they have Bryan Kendrick. I know they have Gable.
Well, Gable's not really a part of the roster yet. He only wrestled that one match, but he could, they could bring anybody in there and just kind of play around. But it's pretty much Tozawa, Gable, if they count him, Lorcan, Kendrick, Gallagher, Carrillo, Lucha House Party. I think that might be it.
Yeah, Gulak versus Kalisto. Like, bring back the no-fly zone gimmick for a month or something.
And there's always other people. I mean, they could bring in for like a guest spot Tyler Bate. They could bring in
Noam Dar.
Noam Dar's a heel. He's gone from babyface heel. He's been playing around with that quite a bit.
I'm sorry, but I can't keep up with things.
Yeah, it's hard to. But 205 Live is a hard one to really kind of like set aside the time for a lot of people. But I think that they should definitely watch this match. This was really good.
I agree.
And we went into the first match of the official card, which was Becky Lynch against Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship. And I think that this was a lot better than their Money in the Bank match. I like this one actually quite a bit.
I'd like this one as well, but I'd be remiss to not mention that awkward,
the kick in the corner.
Yeah.
And they tried to cover it up. It was, for anybody who missed it, it was a spot where Becky was supposed to jump off the turnbuckle and kick Lacey. And Lacey seemed to have missed her cue and not gotten close enough. So they tried to write it off as being like, oh, Becky tried to fake her out and then she kicked her. And it was like, no, Lacey just kind of went like, oh, I was supposed to go forward. Like, yeah, that was a little strange.
Here's a plug. We are currently, was the voting open for round 2 of the Sexy Superstars tournament still?
Yep, that is still on there. So if you want to vote for that, go ahead and do that as much as you can.
I like Becky Lynch with the ponytail. That, the look tonight really worked for me.
Yeah, I'm not too positive, too negative. Was what it was. Although I did vote for Becky Lynch over Paige. So if you are pro Becky over pro Paige, vote on the women's bracket. If you want to check out the men's bracket, go do that. It's on the sidebar of smarkoutmoment.com, and the voting is going to stop at some point, probably tomorrow. I haven't quite figured that out yet. It's kind of, I don't really know how much work I want to do on my birthday, but we'll have to see. I mean, we have a different podcast schedule this week, and while I'm at it, why not plug that? Later this week, we're going to be breaking down Fyter Fest. So if you're into the AEW side of things, Fyter Fest predictions is going to be happening at some point. The poll for the tournament is going to happen as well. So let's see what happens when it comes to that. And there's a possibility that the mailbag is going to be this week. That was the original plan before Fyter Fest and everything else happened. But if not, we'll get around to it maybe like Sunday or so. So if you have not sent in your mailbag questions yet, go ahead and do that as soon as you can so we can kind of backlog those and figure that out. But yeah, more plugs along the way. We'll get to that a little bit later. First things first, I have to say that Becky Lynch retained the title because I forgot to say that. She made Lacey Evans tap out pretty much immediately.
Yeah. Sometimes I really enjoy that immediate tap out because it puts over the hold as effective.
Yeah, as soon as you lock it in, it's like, nope, this is too painful. Screw it, I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Good match. By the way, underrated thing, I loved the flow of this card.
Yeah.
We didn't jump around from, oh, here's the main event. Now here's a buffer match. Now here's, some Legends match. This played out like an old school card. It started off slow and just built to the proper main event.
Well, it started out with a big enough match that it was like to get people interested in, but the quality of it, I feel a little bit strange about. I feel like it was a little bit like the first couple of matches were better than some of the later matches. Like, there's my two least favorite matches of the card, I'll just say them, are the SmackDown Women's title match and the Roman Reigns Drew McIntyre match. And to a certain extent, the ones that came before that a little bit, like, I don't know. I mean, you'll understand when I'm breaking it down a little bit more, anybody who's listening. So I like the Lynch and Evans match. I don't want to see any more between them, but at the same time, if that's going to continue, at least this was a step in the right direction, as opposed to being one of those scenarios where I feel like, oh my God, they've had two bad matches. Why do we got to have a third, But it is a little like, let's wait and see, and we might be able to go back and nitpick that they kept doing that, Like,
I think we're definitely getting at least one more, and I don't know if I'm going to like it.
Yeah, that's Extreme Rules is very easy to book for if you just keep a feud going and say gimmick match. And I think
this one's probably gonna have a gimmick match that I don't know if I want to see.
You have like a specific gimmick you think they're gonna do?
Oh yeah, but we'll talk about it later.
So the next thing was two members of the New Day, Big E and Xavier Woods, against Kofi Kingston, against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, in a match that I really was ragging on because I thought that this was just so lazy and so unnecessary in so many different ways. But I really like all four of the guys, and I figured, you know what, if they were just given something good to work with, they'd be able to do a great job. And they ended up doing that without that. This had no real hype to it, but this was one of the best matches of the night, I think.
It was my match of the night. This match was so fun, so exciting. Props to Tacoma, Washington. They really added to the atmosphere of the show. This match was really good, and the right team won. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn needed the big win. I got weird. Maybe there's some miscommunication in the New Day kind of vibe, and I know that they've been very outspoken about never wanting to break up, but I got weird breakup vibes from them.
How so?
I noticed that it seemed to be a theme of the match that even though it was the heels taking out Big E, whenever Xavier went to tag, it seemed like there was nobody there.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. I was just kind of like, oh, they're really making it seem like Big E's like the big savior kind of thing.
That could be it too. Do you think that at some point, whether it's Extreme Rules, SummerSlam, or something, we're getting a New Day triple threat for the WWE title?
That would be a really good way to change things up a little bit, because they do mention all the time about like, well, when one of us wins, all of us win. And it could be like, well, if you really put that much faith in your friends, put the title on the line and say it's like Ziggler and Owens and Zayn are the three heels or something. It could be something as simple as like, well, if Kofi loses this match in any capacity, even if Xavier Woods or Big E loses, then he has to forfeit the title to one of those three, and then we'll have a triple threat or something like that. Like, I mean, in any kind of scenario like that, they wouldn't have it be like that those three people would actually win, but it's a good mountain to have to climb, you know?
they've done that in the past. There's been 2 incidents where Triple H, Shane McMahon, and Vince McMahon have defended Triple H's WWE Championship in a 6-man tag. So it's not unheard of, and that would be a really fun way to test the boundaries of the New Day. And I even think a triple threat between them, where no matter who wins, they all still remain friends, would be an even better part of the story. That you can have that, we all want to be number one, but that doesn't mean that we're all going to be enemies just because we're all trying to be number one.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea. I think that would be really cool. And that would be something different for Extreme Rules, too, because it would technically be kind of an odd rule match, but not just, oh, you got them in a street fight. And if that were to be the case, Kofi shouldn't win the match. It should be somebody like Xavier wins it for him.
Yeah. And then you're just telling the story of Kofi Kingston did it for 11 years, but it wasn't until he had the New Day that he really found his way into the main event.
Yeah. I like that. Hopefully they will go in some kind of direction like that, instead of just being like, SmackDown comes around and they're like, we need to figure out a new number 1 contender. We're going to have a Fatal 5-Way and it's going to be like Rusev wins. Or, you know what I mean? Like, just...
Was that intentional? Because that's exactly what they did last year at Extreme Rules, or is that just the person that popped into your mind? Yeah.
Oh, that must be a subconscious thing then. Yeah, so Owens and Zayn win by pinfall. Pretty good match. I think that's definitely one of the ones that you should go back and kind of check out, because this was surprising, given the circumstances. I will say I was a little bit disappointed, though, in Samoa Joe versus Ricochet for the U.S. title. I thought that could have been the match of the night, and it wasn't bad. Like, I mean, I'm not, like, crapping on it. Nothing, like, wrong with it. But it could have been great, and it wasn't.
I feel comfortable in saying that for whatever reason, and I'm not knocking Joe particularly, but Joe on the main roster just does not click. I don't know what it is, but he's never had the barn burner match. I think, honestly, his best match was against Brock Lesnar, because it was different and it told a different story. Like, they put him against AJ, which should have blown everybody's mind, and it didn't. And I feel like that's the story of Samoa Joe on the main roster.
Now, I can't fully disagree. He's got more potential, that's at the very least.
And Ricochet, I'll say this: the right guy won because it felt like a big deal, and it didn't seem like, well, we'll just drag this out until Raw or something. But Ricochet on the main roster just seems destined for, I'm the guy who flips, and I won't be much else, but right now I can flip real well. And again, not a knock on Ricochet, but I've seen this story so many times where, like, Evan Bourne was supposed to be a big deal, but he was just a guy that flips, and for a long time that was Kofi's spot. I don't know, I'm very trepidatious about Ricochet going forward, especially since, and I'll just bring it up now, they did the photo shoot where the club shows up with AJ Styles, and AJ just goes, congratulations, champ, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to be champion for too long.
See, I think that's a fake out. I think that's specifically meant to go, ooh, is AJ Styles going to beat Ricochet for the title? I got to tune into Raw tomorrow night. And I think that's going to go down with some kind of DQ, and then they're going to be like, Ricochet and AJ Styles are going to team up in a tag team match later on tonight in the main event against whoever the fuck,
Like, but they're specifically keeping AJ and the club close again, which is making me think, all right, is it time for AJ to step up and be the heel that the Monday Night Raw brand doesn't have?
It could be. But I think that they're doing that just to set up that Tokyo thing. After that,
I'd be okay with
might be a different story.
Together, though. I really would.
I'd be okay as long as it doesn't go down in the wrong direction, because I think that Styles as a heel can kind of be a little repetitive. I mean, as a babyface, it can be a little repetitive too, but I don't want to see like the game plan be in mind that they can turn AJ heel and then have AJ versus Seth for 4 pay-per-views in a row, you know?
Yeah, which unfortunately, again, really has been the story of AJ on the main roster, where it's like, here's this great match. Okay, we're just gonna do this 3 times in a row.
And they've already done it too. So that's the
That
thing.
I don't know. I think I would like to see AJ Styles get a new wrinkle to his character. I'd like to see them try to utilize the Bullet Club thing. They have like 4 of the main dudes. They could just do it, you know?
I'm hoping more along the lines of like Styles and the club stick together and he gives a little bit of a boost to them so that way they can be a team that maybe beats the Revival. Like, I want to see the club, but as baby faces. Knowing WWE, that's gonna be very rare because they're gonna be like, oh, these guys are cool. We should make them heels, and like that way everybody can boo them because they want to cheer them.
See, but I think if you put the club together, I'm gonna start going. All right, so Undisputed Era comes in when?
That too. Which that's 2020.
Yeah, likely, because they're finally doing the whole. Hey, they have all the belts.
Yeah. That'll happen at TakeOver Toronto, and then they'll carry those into next year, I think.
They'll carry them into... Maybe if they want to spice it up a little bit, they can do a War Games match with all the belts. But we're not talking NXT. We're King Stomping Grounds, and I'm scatterbrained. So, Ricochet won. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea that Samoa Joe lost the title, but if he's going to lose to Ricochet, I like Ricochet.
I don't think he's supposed to be champion.
I don't know. See, that whole thing with Joe and Mysterio is really strange because, like, Joe and Mysterio weren't supposed to have a WrestleMania match. They weren't even supposed to have, what was it, like, Extreme Elimination Chamber, I mean? That didn't even seem like that was supposed to happen. So I feel like they just kind of been throwing that around and that they wanted to do this long story of Joe and Mysterio. And maybe Mysterio would have been champion around now instead, but maybe Joe would have been champion, like he would have won the title back at Extreme Rules or something. Like, I honestly don't think that they really know. And I got a feeling that maybe they put the belt on Ricochet just as a means to kind of be like, let's get people talking. Let's show Ricochet that he has potential in the future. Let's like put our stamp of approval on him,
Well, we know that at some point, which poor kid keeps getting fucked over, Dominic was supposed to do something, was he not?
Yeah.
I think Ricochet was just a nice, like, all right, we've done the Joe thing. Let's put the title on somebody we trust. Let's do it with Ricochet. And if it brings back the open challenge, which tends to happen when babyfaces are the U.S. champion, I won't hate it because it can separate Ricochet from Finn Balor right now, who's doing nothing. And maybe it'll be fun. Maybe this will be the thing that says, okay, Ricochet is our new Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, and I like Ricochet enough that any of the future matches that he's going to have, it's pretty interesting. So if they book Ricochet against, I don't know, Sami Zayn, Ricochet against Bobby Roode, Ricochet against whoever.
Ricochet against Braun Strowman.
Yeah, like, these matches can be fun. I like Samoa Joe a lot too, but Samoa Joe, he could be fighting Seth Rollins. Yeah, they could play around with some stuff. There's at least potential behind it, so that makes me happy about it.
What did you think? And we should have gone back earlier in the night and talked about this weird backstage thing with Corbin. But there was another weird backstage thing where after Ricochet won, they just kind of showed the whole babyface roster congratulating him, and then Triple H shows up real briefly to just like hug his little NXT child. And
I like that.
I did too, and it was a cool way to transition into the SmackDown title match with Heavy Machinery going from hugging Ricochet to just walking out to the ring. So more of that, and more of Caleb Braxton interviewing Baron Corbin and not being a fucking robot about it.
Yeah.
Like, I've enjoyed the new attempts with the backstage personnel.
It's at least a step in the right direction. It's not quite
I
there
agree.
yet, but the more that you make them seem like they're real people and not just like microphone stands, then more than I'm up for that.
I agree.
Really quick plug here for anybody that's interested. If you have not followed us on Facebook and Twitter, go ahead and do that. It's at Smark Out Moment. So just putting that out there. Let's go over to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Daniel Bryan and Rowan are the champions. They're going in and fending against Heavy Machinery. And the crowd is very pro Daniel Bryan because they're from Washington. He's from Washington. And that is my least favorite part of this whole thing because it's fun that like the crowd was having fun, but they threw off the whole dynamic of the match.
I still think it worked. Everybody, they didn't go too hammy with it. Everybody adjusted well. I think the people were into Heavy Machinery, who had a really good match. This was another really good match, and I wasn't expecting much out of it. Because Bryan's good, but this is one of those matches that reminds you, okay, this is why you put Bryan in the tag team slot, because he can elevate everybody. And that's what I think happened here.
Well, I liked the match. I think that Heavy Machinery did a good job going up against them and kind of trying to make a name for themselves. But I'm hoping that this isn't one of those scenarios where they didn't get a positive reaction from the crowd. So that means that Vince is going to kind of look at that and be like, well, they're not over. And then let's just not push them, you know?
Yeah, and I'd like to be able to dismiss that, but we've seen that happen too many times to be able to do so. Which is a complete 180 from my norm, I loved the crowd here, where they're just like, Captain Planet! Captain Planet! I thought that was hysterical.
I liked the Drive a Prius.
Please recycle!
But I felt bad for Otis and Tucker because it's like they're trying to be the baby faces here, and it's like, boo, you're not from our area, and it's like, yeah, shut up, you know. That's just like, that's one of those nitpicks, you know. But Bryan and
I
Rowan
like
retain.
that Bryan didn't cut a stupid promo.
He did at the beginning of the night.
Did he? Did he cut a promo where he's like, yeah, and I'm from Washington, and you all suck?
Oh, no, he didn't do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm glad that he didn't try to force the crowd against him. And they're going, yeah, I was from Washington, but I moved to Phoenix where they fucking recycle. Yeah.
And then he goes to Phoenix and he's like, yeah, I wish I was back in Washington. Then, the way that they don't really do that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see more out of Heavy Machinery. I don't think that they should just kind of keep this feud going and be lazy about it, but I hope that they didn't get any kind of like points docked for that, at the very least.
Did they make reference at some point to the Bushwhackers being the influence for Heavy Machinery? Because that's what they said on commentary, that they were their young idols. I'm like, what?
At the very least, they do the little hand movement thing.
Oh, well. They are a more modern day Bushwhacker, but I don't know. I think Otis is fantastic.
Otis is great. I love Otis.
I'm surprised he's not the 24/7 champion in catering right now.
He totally will win that title at some point. You know he's going to. We had, at some point during the night, we did that. I don't remember when it was, but for anybody who's not aware, Drake Maverick lost the 27 championship at his wedding. So, R-Truth is the champion again. Just for those keeping track.
That was funny.
I like that, yeah.
I heard a rumor that Maxwell Hardy might have been Drake Maverick, which I think would have been infinitely funnier if Matt Hardy's 3-year-old child was the 24/7 champion.
At the same time, though, then you gotta be pissed if you're Nicholas, because he'd be like, "Oh my god, I thought I had a championship where, like, you know, nobody would ever beat this record." And then you had a kid 7 years younger than me or something like.
But I also think Nicholas needs to win this title as well.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be great.
Yeah, it needs to be his birthday, and they're in a ball pit, and it's like, well, somebody just pinned R-Truth. Who pinned her? Oh my god, it's Nicholas.
And then have somebody just kind of like push Nicholas down into the ball pit and pin him.
Baron
Like that
Corbin,
way.
Who's pissed off at his dad.
Yeah, Baron Corbin would be great for that spot. That'd be great. They should do this kind of shit. Then we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss. Not a great match, but better than their kendo stick match that they had.
That's all I could think about when I watched them.
And I'll give credit where it's due. I liked the ending of it, where Nikki came in, kind of lost her temper, and started to attack Bayley, which was just enough of a distraction that Alexa Bliss was thrown off by it, and Bayley capitalized and won. So that means that Nikki is going to be feeling bad, and she's going to want to try to make it up to Alexa, and like that kind of carries the story forward. So I like that.
So they kept mentioning on commentary, Bayley, this is a new Bayley. This is a new Bayley. So that's something I missed from SmackDown, where she's like, yeah, I'm not hugging anymore. I'm going to beat your ass.
She basically said, like, I've changed. I'm not going to be just all about hugs. And then it's like, but she's basically just exactly the same.
Well, no, it seems like they're trying to tell a story where she's more aggressive. And I'll let them tell that story. I'm down for a change in Bayley. And at some point, if she's coming back, you're going to get, as soon as they clear her or fix whatever issues, it's Sasha Banks and Bayley.
Yeah. Unless it's supposed to be Becky and Sasha in some kind of weird scenario, but I don't think that that's the case.
I think it'll be Sasha and Bayley even if they have to drag it out to WrestleMania, I think at some point that's the match you're getting.
Could be. Or she could just leave.
That's also very possible. I liked the match. The match was fine. I'm not crazy about Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross together, because it's just like, okay, so you're gonna manipulate another friend. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that well a couple of times, but it's still working better than some other storylines. I'll give them credit for that.
So Corey Graves on commentary goes, yeah, Alexa Bliss manipulates people, only those that are stupid enough to fall for it. And I'm like, all right, so are we calling Nikki Cross stupid? Does Nikki Cross not have access to the WWE Network? Can she not watch the show?
Well, even if that's the case, wouldn't she potentially just be stupid enough to not know that that's applying to her?
Oh, well, there you go. The commentary was on fire for this show. There was lots of funny little one-liners. You'd mentioned the 24/7 title thing already, but Drake Maverick's wife tweeted out, "I want a divorce because you let this ruin my wedding." And Corey Graves perfectly goes, "Drake Maverick should thank R-Truth. Divorces are expensive."
Yeah. Unfortunately, this led into my least favorite part of the night, which was Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre.
Well, now I, for one, am very excited about this match. Now, if you take the chiseled physique of Drew McIntyre, I mean, that's completely hard to beat, unless you're putting it up against Roman Reigns, who, rightfully so, looks like a Samoan god. Now, these are very sexy individuals, and this matchup is fantastic, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's not for the tournament yet.
Oh, what were we talking about?
This, I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, Roman. I'm begging Roman to either just win the title. You know what he should do? He should just take out the New Day, beat Kofi Kingston, and turn heel. And I know doing the whole Roman should turn heel thing is so overplayed on the internet, but look what it did for Bryan. It took him out of a slump into being a compelling character. Roman needs to change.
See, this feud to me, we talked about this before, so I'm not going to really beat the dead horse, but to reiterate, it's stupid that Shane McMahon won all these things, and that Shane McMahon's being pushed as like the top thing in the company right now, because he's not able to actually be that entertaining all the way through. And at the same time, they spent a couple of months ago specifically saying we're getting rid of heel general managers and we're not doing the heel authority, only to have very quickly afterward build a whole storyline around Shane McMahon being like a heel authority figure. And it's just like, I'm tired of heel McMahon. I'm tired of heel authority figure. I'm tired of building people up so that they can beat somebody else. And I feel like Drew McIntyre didn't need to lose a second match. I feel like they've now had 2 matches, and if they have a third one and they try to make it seem like it's a big deal, it's not going to be a big deal anymore because they've already had it. Roman Reigns has already won twice. Both of those matches didn't matter. And this build for Shane McMahon was like all for what? So that they could then for tomorrow night on Raw be like, oh, you're having a handicap match. I don't fucking care about what they're having tomorrow night on Raw. I would have been more interested in Roman Reigns versus Sin Cara. And I would have been more interested in Drew McIntyre against Sin Cara too. Like, that's, this is supposed to be two of the biggest people in the company and two of the biggest stars that they can revolve around. And I felt like this was the least important match, kind of.
They're doing the thing. It's kind of Hogan and Brett, where Hogan is there, and in this case, Hogan is Roman, but they have Brett as the champion, in this case, Seth, and they're trying to, like, well, but aren't you happy? We're giving you what you want. Seth is the champion. But you're just having Roman waste away in the mid-card, and it's boring, and it's not even like, I was never this guy, but it's not even like, oh, Roman wins, LOL. It's just, I'm not intrigued in anything Roman is doing at all.
And I don't think that that's his fault. I think it's just that they put him in a storyline that they like, and it's a different philosophy than what a lot of people are into. And I'm sure some people are really into this, and especially if they're little kids, they're probably really into it. But at the same time, you know what I could actually equate this to? This might not be the best analogy in the world, but I'm going to go for it anyway. These new X-Men movies, whoever it was, whether it was Simon Kinberg or the producers at Fox or Bryan Singer or whoever, really liked the idea of doing them based off of decades. Despite the fact that they weren't able to pull it off in any of them other than First Class. So when you do Days of Future Past and it's in the 70s, it doesn't seem like it should be in the 70s. And when you do Apocalypse and it's in the 80s, it doesn't feel like it should be in the 80s. And then you go into Dark Phoenix and it's in the 90s, and it's like this, they're wearing clothes that are in 2019. What the fuck? Why are you making this in the 90s? And it's because somebody with creative control over this really wanted that to be a staple of that franchise. And I feel like Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre is a feud, and this whole Shane McMahon feud is indicative of somebody on creative, maybe it's Vince, who really likes this type of story and is just like, this is my shit. I want this. And if I like it, then other people are going to like it. And we've got enough other things that, well, people can like the other things and maybe they might not like this, but I really like it, so it's a big deal to me. And I just can't get into it. I've seen this story too many times, and now Drew McIntyre's lost twice for no reason, when I feel like he should be somebody that they would be. You give me the creative control right the night after WrestleMania, and I can't even go back and replace the Roman Reigns Drew McIntyre match on that. The last thing I would do is put these two against each other in any capacity, with or without the wild card rule. If you wanted Roman Reigns on the card and you wanted Drew McIntyre on the card, I would have been booking scenarios of something like Reigns against whoever and Drew McIntyre against somebody that Drew can beat. Because I think that Drew versus Rollins is where they need to go. And you can't have McIntyre lose any important match and then just go, well, we're going to give him the title and that'll undo it, you know?
Yeah. And I honestly think that's exactly what they're going to do. Whenever they're ready for Drew to defeat champion, he's just going to be.
Yeah, he's just going to win, and then they're just going to say, well, we needed to make him lose because that way it would be all that more shocking when he won. And now that he's champion, don't you just buy into it? Don't you just go with what we're saying? And it's like, well, no, because you had him lose all these matches. And
at some point, we still have a roaming Brock Lesnar who makes 90% of this irrelevant.
It's happening at WrestleMania, I think.
What, the Brock losing?
Brock against Roman? Yeah, I think that's happening.
Maybe, but at this point, I would be like, guys, you didn't even like, Hogan Andre this much. Like, I don't know if Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns is that feud. but maybe this time Roman actually
No.
beats him at Mania.
Because clearly somebody really, 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 really likes that. And they're just kind of like, well, we're going to do it until everybody likes it too.
maybe
And if
it's
we
Brock.
lose,
You ever think about that? Maybe it's Lesnar likes it.
it could
Maybe
be
he
Brock.
likes Roman.
If that's the case, then he shouldn't have creative control. Yeah, so this is my least favorite part. I just didn't like this. I didn't like it going into it. I don't think that they executed it well. I don't think that this should continue. I think that they should step far away from this, and I'm just disappointed in it. But I did like the WWE Championship Steel Cage match. Kofi
Before we
Kingston.
go there, did you see the leaving yet?
Oh, I like that, yeah.
That's so cool.
That was really good.
That was a cool thing, and I'm excited to see where they go with that.
Hopefully they kind of keep that going a little bit. Give them a little bit more character.
Nothing wrong with character development.
Ziggler comes up short against Kofi Kingston, and my biggest note for this whole thing was I'm really happy that they had it end with Kofi going through the cage door, because people never do that anymore. And it's good to go back into some match results that we don't really see all that often.
So I know it's gonna sound like bullshit coming from me, but I enjoyed this match a lot. I thought it was, while it can be seen as boring and plotting, one thing I loved about this match was the sense of urgency to win the match, which doesn't often happen, was there throughout the entire thing. Ziggler would try to get out of the cage. Kofi, they would reverse moves into attempts to get out of the cage. And then that ending, where Ziggler looks like he's gonna get out, and Kofi just fucking dives through the door. Like, just, oh shit, dives right over Ziggler's body through the door and hits the floor. And I thought, what a cool ending.
Yeah. I don't remember if that's ever happened before. It's probably happened somewhere, especially if you count like cage matches on house shows and stuff. But they usually tend to go with this whole idea of like cage matches where, it still ends in a pinfall. And I don't like that all that much. It's good that they give you the option of that, but I got conditioned to feel that. And it used to be that every time that somebody would open up the cage door, I would be like, all right, well, they're not coming out of there. Like, and for them to do that was like, hey, neat. It's almost as if Kofi Kingston's been a fan of this his entire life and wanted to do something different.
Yeah, and Callum hit the nail on the head on the preview show, but they are booking Kofi strong.
He is already my number one pick so far for best title reign of the year.
Which makes me think that he's got to be beating the belt up so strong so that when Lesnar does beat him, it's not as much of a foregone conclusion as it would have been as soon as Lesnar won the Money in the Bank.
I still think that they're going in that direction just because they keep doing the whole thing with like, oh, he's going after Seth, he's going after Seth, he's going after Seth, and then when he goes after Kofi, then it'll be like, ha, you didn't see that coming,
Well, Heyman's at least tonight said Kofi's in the building too. Don't forget that. It's like Heyman threw it out there.
Yeah.
Which I like, because I don't want to see Seth versus Brock again.
I don't want to see Brock versus anybody.
I know you don't.
I really don't. Brock Lesnar roll. We're moving on. Yeah, so then we had our Universal Championship match, but right before we do that, I'm going to just throw out a couple more plugs here for anybody that does not know. We have a Patreon, so if you want to donate, you got a little spare change, throw it our way to get us to do some extra little projects on the side and stuff. We also have merchandise on TeePublic and Redbubble for Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and A Mango Tees. And I'm mentioning Fanboys Anonymous because that's another website of mine. You will find things like a Toy Story 4 review and some other kind of geek culture topics and movie stuff and TV stuff and comic books and whatever the case may be like that. I forget what it was I wrote up recently. I wrote something up that was like just some random editorial, but more stuff like that coming whenever I get a chance to. So go on to fanboysanonymous.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring the bell for the notifications there, follow the Facebook and Twitter, hit up that Patreon.
Marvel's Falcon and Winter Soldier, Disney Plus shows, ideas, and story pitch.
Yeah, that's the one. So if you want to know why I think that they should do US Agent and Mad Bomb and some other things like that, then go on and check that out. And the main event of the night was the Universal Championship match. It was Seth Rollins against Baron Corbin with a special guest referee of Lacey Evans.
Go
And
Callum.
the
Callum called
crowd,
it.
yeah, Callum called that. And I did not think that they were going to go in that direction. I thought it was too smart. Did not give them credit. And I really am glad that they did. The crowd hated it at first, and I don't understand why, because I think that this was actually really, really good. This is one of my highlights. It was very old school, and sometimes the old stuff works because the old stuff is just that good. Like, this was good storytelling. It had Lacey Evans pulling in the whole, like, why would she want to screw Seth Rollins? Oh, because she's mad at Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch is the girlfriend of Seth Rollins. Okay, so she's got motivation. Number two, why would she be alongside Baron Corbin? Well, they're both heels, so you don't need to have any other rationalization other than that. Number three, why would Baron Corbin go after Lacey Evans? Well, because Seth Rollins has been beating down everybody with a steel chair, and he's not going to ethically, on a show that doesn't have men attacking women in any capacity, beat her down with a steel chair. So he's got that element that he has to overcome. The typical scenario of the special guest referee continues, where she doesn't want to count the pinfall for Seth, and she's helping out Baron Corbin with fast counts, and the count out situation is like, well, no, it's a no count out match, then it's a no DQ match. I really like that.
I guess it's been a while since we've seen it, but I've seen it a lot. So I wasn't crazy about the whole, hey, now it's an ODQ. And because my thing is, you got to suspend that disbelief, because at some point I would have just had Becky Lynch hit the ring, you know? And the crowd, one thing I'll say is the crowd was so hungry for Becky Lynch to hit the ring and fuck up Lacey Evans. So when it does happen, following a low blow, which I laughed at because it's like, all right, she's letting her get away with all this stuff until she punches him in the dick. And then it's like, no.
No, she came out not because of the low blow. She came out because she lingered on the low blow.
Yeah, like, she left her arm there too. Like, no, that's my area. Only I can touch that. For that
was like 10 seconds straight of just kind of hanging around your boyfriend's crotch. Like, yeah.
So I'm a little worried that this is just going to lead to a winner-take-all tag team match at Extreme Rules. And I don't know if I want to see that.
That could be the way that they do it. Like, Becky and Seth team up. Their titles are on the line, that kind of thing. I wouldn't hate it. Like, it depends on the rest of the card. If that's not the main event and they have some other interesting things going on, like, you have to, at some point, have some kind of an actual, like, street fight. And you have to do something very interesting, like a submission match or, you know, whatever the case may be. And if they do something like that, then I wouldn't hate it. But I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see about that one.
Do you have any interest in going to Extreme Rules?
Is that in Wells Fargo?
That's, yeah, Philadelphia.
Actually, totally forgot about that. So, I probably won't.
I think it'll be fun, you know? But this show was a lot better than I thought it would be. For a show that I think everybody was expecting a solid F for, it was about a C+.
I thought that this worked out a lot better than it should have. And for something that had such low potential behind it, maybe that's why I liked it. Maybe I had really low expectations and I just kind of went into it and I was just sort of like, you know, hey, that's good enough. Like, maybe, but I'm not going to crap on something that I liked. So, you know, if I keep staring at it a little bit longer, I'm probably going to find some more things I disliked about it, but...
You shouldn't stare, it's impolite.
Sometimes you have to stare. Somebody's got... I was going to say somebody looks weird and you just got to stare and try to figure out what's wrong with them, but that too. Yeah, so I like this. I think that they could screw it all up tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, and it could just be like, oh my god, this is the worst thing. But I'll give them credit where it's due. This was a much better pay-per-view than I thought that it was going to be. And at the very least, for Sunday night, I enjoyed watching this.
I agree.
Yeah, so again, drop your comments below. Tell us what you think about this. If you are on one of the audio-only types of things, like Anchor or Spotify or Google Play or iTunes or Stitcher, and you can't leave a comment below, you should leave a star rating on the podcast and hop on over to smarkoutmoment.com and leave a comment on that page, or go to the YouTube channel while you're there, subscribing on that. Check out eWrestling News and Bleacher Report for some other stuff that I got going up. Check out smarkoutmoment.com for everything else that's happening. Again, we mentioned this before, but the Sexiest Superstars tournament is going down, so whenever I shut off that poll, we will move on to round 3. Break that down later on this week, as well as the Fyter Fest predictions, and eventually the Fyter Fest post-show. Hot tags as well. Mailbag coming up at some point, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever. I don't know. We might do it like July 2nd or something. But we'll see. And you will just stay tuned. And then you will listen. That's what you will do.
That is.
Like, sound very demanding of right now. You will stay tuned. You will listen. You will give us 5 stars. Like,
well, that is your job. Like, do your job, guys.
Yeah. So thank you for all the support with that. But we got some more plugs on Rob's side of things. So hit us with those, Rob.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dude Felice. You can check out eWrestling News for the stuff I've got going on there. You can check out the Ring Report. I occasionally post on there. I posted on there tonight a little bit for some match results. WrestleZone Daily. I'm on there Monday through Thursday. Every day on WrestleZone's Facebook page, taking your questions. And if you want to just ask me about the state of pro wrestling, it's like a mailbag, but on a daily basis. It's very fun. You should all go to facebook.com/WrestleZone.com. And if you wanted to support me monetarily, you can go to timekillerapparel.com and grab yourself some merch. And thank you. Oh, wait, no. 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey. Can't forget to mention that. It is on the SmackDown Moment YouTube channel and podcast feeds. We have episodes up for January, February, March, April, May, and a special on WrestleMania X7. And the June episode should be recorded likely this, if not this weekend, then for sure next week.
Yeah, that'll be coming up pretty soon. You'll see that when you see it. It'll be up on the YouTube channel and all the other kind of platforms and stuff. So, again, that's where the reminders come in and the subscriptions and stuff. So, yeah, that's it. That's the 2019 Stomping Grounds pay-per-view post-show. Thank you for all for listening to this. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your interactions, your support, and everything else that we can thank you for. We will see you next time in the next podcast, whichever that is. Hot tags. That's what it is. Yeah, so we'll see you then, everybody. This has been another Smart Out Moment, and we are being counted out.